The revenge flick, justice and retribution flick to end all justice, revenge, and retribution flicks. The final culmination, apparently the very last in the franchise, as the actor is growing older, Sylvester Stallone still manages to give some of the best performances of his life, and this is one of them. 2019, Rambo, Last Blood. Unfortunately, we are living in a time where the first question about a film or a show or anything has to be, is it woke? To answer that question, we first have to define what that means a little bit, because there's a lot of confusion out there, especially the communist Marxist woke crowd intentionally obfuscating what that means to accuse people of things they've never done, been, said, believed, felt. In a world where Aunt Jemima can be a racist icon, we've got to answer this question. Woke is a particular Marxist narrative, and it works like this. It's about intersectionality, whining and complaining about your made-up Marxist oppression and the fake categories into which they put everything in order to judge it according to Marxism. Having a diverse cast does not make anything woke. Having a strong female lead, none of those things that we've always had in cinema have ever made anything woke except Marxism. So, Alien, Star Trek, my gosh, Charlie's Angels, Wonder Woman, The Bionic Woman, all of these things had their strong female roles, there were diverse characters, but they don't count in the Marxist view for the same reason Kanye West isn't really black, because he doesn't vote for and support communists. If you're not whining about your made-up oppression, if you're successful, strong, dedicated, work hard, and earn what you get, you cannot be counted in the Marxist equation. Now, I want to clear that up, again, because I talk about this a lot on my channel, but Rambo Last Blood, being 2019, could easily be confused for woke because, well, there's a lot going on. There is a female character that is like a daughter to him. He has a family that he's almost a family, a part of. There's not the genetic family, but he is part of this family he has adopted who happen to be Latino. There's a trip to Mexico. Most of the people in this movie are not white. It's a departure for Rambo from Southeast Asia and other sort of similar battlefields in that region. Dealing with human trafficking. There's any number of things you might say, oh, they did this for this or that reason. But all the characters we get in Rambo Last Blood are real people suffering real problems. Nobody takes time to do a little speech or a soliloquy about why Donald Trump is evil or some ridiculous meta thing like that. Make Mexico great again or something stupid like Ally McBeal did in Supergirl. No, in fact, they're just human, doing the best he can as an adopted father figure, taking care of a family, raising this girl, her coming of age, wanting to make her own decisions, wanting to be trusted to make her own decisions, him having to try to intervene, knowing that she's about to do something stupid, but she won't listen. This is the story of parents and kids since the beginning of time, since the fall in the Garden of Eden. There's nothing unique to it about their race, their language, their place. Him being white, her being Latino, none of that is really not even talked about, except that her long-lost father that she decides to try to contact happens to be in Mexico because he's Mexican. Rather than giving everything through the lens of a Marxist world dialectic, it gives us real people that experience real tragedy and real suffering. Stallone, Rambo, goes down to Mexico to try to save this girl after she is trafficked by a alleged friend and associate that lures her down there in order to pay off or get paid some sort of debt or payment relationship that isn't clear with the local traffickers and crime family. And of course, you have the traffickers are all villains, of course, but it isn't like they staged this so that these people happen to be a certain race to be a villain. It happens to be in Mexico. This is the convenient way to set up the human trafficking with these characters. It just works. They also are very clear that it's not like they ever portray all of Mexico as being a crap hole. Not all of Mexico is full of criminals. They're not all lazy. There's nothing like that. In fact, it is by the help, very timely help and support of a Mexican woman investigating herself, her own sister's death at the hands of these people, trying to get justice. She's able to save Rambo at a key moment, and they are able to work together against this crime family. The story also does a great job of not giving you just your expectations. They are subverted, but they're subverted in a good way, not a Marxist way. The Marxist thinks that subverting expectations is to make everybody gay and everybody black and to suddenly make He-Man all about Tila. That's not what it is. A good subversion of expectations happens in Rambo, and I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it, but there's a surprise where you think he has saved the day, but something much, much worse happens. And you're expecting that he's going to slaughter all these bad guys in Mexico, but they actually come after him because they knew where he was and come to the States. And it ends up unfolding in a way that is entirely consistent with Rambo canon, Rambo expectations, but with added highlights. There's twists in the story. And in a franchise where he has killed an unknown number of bad guys over all these years, they still manage to give you a very creative way that he kills off the bad guys. And it is every bit as gory, being indicative of the age. It is more gory. It is kind of over-the-top gruesome in places, and yet it feels new and fresh for the Rambo franchise, and you really want these guys to get it, and they have it coming by the time you get there. I think it's one of the best ones since the original Rambo, which was really the story. First Blood, without his name Rambo in the title, the return of the veteran trying to blend into society and not being allowed to blend back into society because people challenge him, and you know the story. But to bring the franchise here, this full circle, and now as a very old man, still defending that which is good and virtuous, but having all of these skills that are violent and brutal. These are gruesome skills, but he brings the skill set to bear, and he disposes of the bad guys in the way that they need to be, and it ends up like that. It feels like the end of the franchise. It is not clear exactly at the end. I won't ruin that for you, but it feels like it all wrapped up. It's the sunset of his life, and he has done his bit for king and country just one more time, and it really is amazing. I loved it, and it is, again, a classic sort of action, the classic sort of movie we used to get, where, yes, surprise, there's female characters and diverse characters and all sorts of people, but they're real humans who have real problems, not made up crap you're screaming at the screen about your supposed oppression. You're oppressed because you're part of a movement that controls literally every part of major media today. The old saying goes, if you want to know who your rulers are, figure out who you're not allowed to criticize. It's amazing how they throw around phrases like disempowered and marginalized and blah, blah, blah for those that have absolute totalitarian power over social media and mainline media. Astonishing. Rambo doesn't do any of that. Last Blood is a glimpse back into the real world with its real brutality and its real problems and its real emotions and its real growth and real coming of age and real life story and a little bit of over-the-top fictionalized gruesomeness for those that justly have it coming. It's good stuff.